Another day, another dollar.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, big time. How you feeling?
I'm alright.
Why not great?
Just, like tired. Worn out.
Tired of what?
Not tired of anything other than just being tired, you know? Sometimes you get tired.
Long weekend?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Because the cat was away.
Yeah.
The mouse played?
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, you're fucking tired, bro. Oh my god. Oh, dude. Got this new flavor for you.
Oh, sick.
Oh, dude, double new flavor. Dude. What'd you do this weekend?
Just had a good weekend.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice. Alright, man. Dude, Jonathan White. Sexual Kung Fu.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of creeped on his Instagram a little bit after you sent it to me.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice, I was hoping you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk.
How's it going?
Jonathan, Ken, Jonathan.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing, my man?
Doing good.
Right there, that's for you.
Perfect. Nice chairs.
Thanks. Compliments of Ken. How you doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah? Dude, you're looking tan as fuck,
I
bro.
was in Hawaii for a week.
Oh, you were? What island?
Kauai.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I was just there at the beginning of February.
Really? Okay, I was there, when was it? Last week of February?
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you stay?
Kauai Beach Resort. Near, what's the town called? I forgot. East Side.
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty good with directions.
The Hui.
I don't know what it's Oh, that's cool, man. We're already hopping in. Feels good already, so. Oh, that's badass. Nice, man. When are you gonna go back soon?
Probably, yeah. I don't know about soon, but I definitely want to go back.
Oh,
It was amazing
really?
there, Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that island is great. Will you shut that door?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's cool. What'd you go for?
Well, actually got married. My partner Brian, we did a little elopement there, so we just had a private wedding ceremony, and really it's a place we wanted to go for a while as well.
Yeah.
So,
What?
married, hang out, spend time in nature, swim with the sea turtles.
But the government contract, the marriage contract, where was that? Tell me about how that worked with you guys.
What do you mean?
What do you think?
Oh, gotcha. Typical.
Like a marriage certificate?
Yeah, marriage certificate.
I know. What state?
Hawaii.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. We hopped right into it. This one was going to be a little bit more professional. Jonathan White, Sexual Kung Fu. I'll tell you what. Really excited to have you on. I found you end of 2019. 2019, very pivotal year for me. Right from New Year's. I broke up with Noah's mom.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, 2:05 a.m., 8th Street, big blow up, breakup. My whole life changed that New Year's Day. New Year's Day, I wake up, I got to go pick up the kids, my relationship is in turmoil. But then the end of the year, about fall, I find Jonathan White. So now, coming on it'll be 3 years at the end of this year.
That's right.
But 2 years later, getting married on Kauai. Wow. That's incredible. How do you feel?
How long were you guys there for?
A week. We spent a week there.
That's awesome, man. That's a good vacation, too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Wow. What is going on that would... Tell me more about that.
Well, as far as the wedding?
Yeah, and just like your progression from, teaching, because at the basis, your whole practice is about teaching men how to transmutate, how to harness, how to redirect sexual energy, and how, and not only with men, but also with women. Because, and that's kind of how I found you is, again, after that story breaking up, I went over 6 months totally celibate. and then finding you, after the fact, just powerful techniques that I'd learned just that year. So just real interesting, having you teach that stuff now married, like that's a huge shift.
Yeah, well, we've been together for 5 years, so it was a natural progression.
Right.
And she practices the women side of things, like the conscious sexual energy practices, energy cultivation, self-development, and balancing. So it was a good fit. It was time.
Perfect fit.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's kind of the perfect, because I'll be 40 this year, never been married. My son's mother, closest I ever been. But the same thing, I set these rules that I've always had in place. Like, number one, I wouldn't ever move in with someone until I've known them for a year. So broke that rule with her. And things played out the way they did. But anyways, and the second one was marriage. I would not marry someone until 5 years. So interesting that 5 years that you guys got married.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic. Do you feel, through your practice, because also qigong practitioner, what would you put?
Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation. I've done yoga, studied a lot of different systems of cultivation.
Well, I guess that brings me to my question, because I feel like there's a lot of masters at something that aren't really masters. Like, a lot of people learn from their parents and they use that, even though their parents aren't rich, right? Like, why are you learning about money from your parents who aren't rich? Or why are you learning how to do anything that your parents aren't good at, right? And that's something I just started concentrating on. So my question to you is, tell us a little bit about you for the people that don't know who you are, including myself, that makes you a master at this.
Well, first of all, I would never say I'm a master.
Okay.
I'm an internal student, always developing my path. But I grew up in a small town, in Homedale, Idaho, farm, community, conservative background. So I was kind of the black sheep, rebel, alien child who was just, doing different things, kind of had my head in the clouds all the time. And when I was a teenager, I had a lot of depression. I had a lot of, substance abuse and things like that. And I just felt like I was a dead end in my life, especially as far as relationships, the opposite sex. Like most men learn about sex through porn, and I wasn't managing my sexual energy very well, which I was starting to realize was causing these patterns of imbalance and depletion in my life in my early 20s. And so I started getting into, I took some magic mushrooms when I was 19, had the spiritual awakening, kind of the cliche thing there, right? But that led me on this journey of understanding, like, what happened? What was this experience of feeling at one with the universe and this being out of time and out of these linear concepts we have of reality? Right. I'm like, how do I bring more of that into my life without having to take drugs? And so it led me to study Eastern traditions, yoga, meditation. And then the next thing for me was, where does sexual energy fit into all this? Because, like, okay, a lot of these kind of spiritual paths, it's like you have to be celibate, just don't have sex. But that wasn't going to work for me. And so I found the work of Montauk Chia, who is a Taoist master, we could say, whatever. And he teaches these men's sexual practices of harnessing the sexual energy, learning to manage for a man, which is all about not ejaculating frequently, learning to hold that essence in your body, but you can still have orgasms without ejaculating, actually. So,
right.
Studied all that stuff, and I found a teacher here in the U.S. who was teaching this work, and I went to one of his summer retreats, went in depth, did instructor training and all this, and it just completely transformed me, like night and day difference in who I was before to who I am now. And just seeing how powerful this work is, I saw that this is like the most important work that we can be doing, being in human bodies on the planet right now, is this deep trauma we have around sexuality and the repression of the true essence of our sexual energy and what it's meant to be for us. And I was like, I think what I'm here to do is share this with the world.
Damn.
Wow, that's good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because my story is, like yourself, is not knowing how to channel that energy. I remember the first time, I can picture it in my mind, is finding the first booby magazine. We found it out in the field. Me, my sister, my cousins lived next door to us. We found this magazine. It was like the first time we'd all seen boobies, and it was like a quantum shift in my consciousness. Like, whoa, what is this? And then, I don't remember who told on us, but someone told our parents. And then the parents come, and it wasn't like this open, vulnerable conversation. It was like this is bad, don't do this. And I was like, oh, well, it didn't feel bad in my body when I saw it, you know? So, and then, you know, in my adolescent teenage years, like I didn't really have it. My father figure wasn't like, it wasn't a sit down conversation. It was kind of, we were driving in the car and my sex conversation was, just make sure you use a condom, be careful.
Yeah.
Like that was it. It was just like, oh, all right. So not really knowing how to channel that energy, not knowing really how to direct that energy. And like you said, that's the most powerful energy we have as physical beings. So powerful that it creates life. And we're just out there throwing it around like it's a, you know, weekend party drug.
I got 2 crazy stories for you. So 4th grade comes around, haven't had any puberty classes yet, right?
Yeah, 4th grade.
Yeah, wake up, all this stuff is all over the place, and my parents were divorced, so I ran to my mom's room. I'm like, Mom, there's yogurt all over the place. I don't know what happened. And my mom was like, oh God, I never thought I'd have to have this conversation. So she like gives me the conversation. You're going to start changing, you know, it's super awkward. My sister listened in and went to school and told everybody.
Your sister listened to the conversation?
Like through the door, yeah.
Oh.
So I go to school. Everyone hears that I've gone through puberty. And also I was that like young kid that was starting to get like chin hair, had some pubic hair, armpit hair. So I was like the stinky kid for a little bit. But I remember this girl came up to me and she was a 6th grader and I was in 4th grade. And she's like, oh, I heard you hit puberty. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, like awkward conversation. She goes, how big is your dick? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, oh, well, my boyfriend's is like 16 inches, but he's really small. Like normal size is 18 inches. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, shit, dude. I have
18 inches?
I was like, I have the smallest penis in the world, dude. And I literally thought that until I hit the 7th grade when I went to like play baseball with the middle school. And I walked in and I saw that other dudes had, you know.
You thinking it was like, going to be as long as my arm.
Exactly, yeah. I thought everyone had like 18-inch penises. Whoa. And I just had the smallest penis in the world. Well, then segue. I didn't want to have sex until I got married. And I remember in 8th grade, a girl IM'd me and was like, hey, I want to give you a blowjob. And I was like, dude, who is this slut? You know? So I messaged her back and I was like, you whore. I'm breaking up with you. So, I mean, just a lot of awkwardness as like a younger kid. Yeah. And then, as soon as I did do it, it was like lights out. That's all I cared about after that. Whereas my dad was like, just take the shirts off and get a blowjob. That was my sex talk, right? Like, but that was all he said to me, you know? And I think I was like 13. Oh, also my stepmom's like, he doesn't have a girlfriend yet. He's probably gay or something like that. And I just didn't like tell them that I had a girlfriend, you know?
Right.
But yeah, all that crazy stuff. I can't believe that's, and like other kids have same experiences like that.
Oh yeah.
You know? Like everyone goes through those weird, it's like, why is that even a thing? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that like through you've got quite the following and you've built quite the practice. Do you find that that's kind of the norm? Is a lot of, you know, men, they never had that rite of passage. They never really had a kind of a plan of attack, so to speak, like, hey, this is what's going on. In fact, it's weird that we're having this conversation just over this weekend. Me and my 7-year-old son were watching the movie Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy from 2002 or some shit.
Yeah.
And he's talking about boners. And Noah's like, oh, I get boners. I'm like, whoa, dude. Oh, man. 7 años, and I got to start talking about this. Like, oh, it is. Mm-hmm. But so it's interesting that, like, you know, in ancient or, you know, our current cultural civilization, like, they had rites of passage. And we've lost a lot of that stuff nowadays. Is that what you're finding a lot?
Definitely. For the modern man, we learn about sex through porn. And maybe, you know, in high school, I had a class, a sex ed class, which was basically don't do it. It was abstinence, right? It was fear around sex. Right. And it's like, well, just don't do it. Obviously, that didn't work. My talk from my parents was, you know, my older brother's 10 years older than me. He accidentally got a girl pregnant his first year in college. And so my talk from my parents was, my mom was just like, well, you just don't want to end up like your older brother, okay? That was basically the talk.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, there's this lack of information and context around sexuality, but at the same time, we're bombarded with sexual imagery, and it's very confusing for us as we're developing. So it's something that we kind of we put this part of ourselves in the closet, and you're like, oh, I don't do that. But at the same time, we indulge in it freely when no one's around. So it's this strong shadow that we all have.
Very strong shadow.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that, because most people put their sexual fantasies, desires, curiosities in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what happens when we repress anything? Builds pressure.
Oh yeah.
That's
builds
like
pressure.
Perfect example is like those people that get married young, have kids, and then they hit like their late 30s, early 40s. And I'm sure you know people like this, but they just go like rampant and go crazy, you know, start having affairs and doing weird shit. But
yeah, that's interesting too. Like, do you know your demographic? Do you talk to a lot of like married men, and do you?
It's all over the board, but mostly it's men 25 to 35 in age, you know, married, single. It's all a mix, definitely.
Yeah, because I bet, especially like married men, like I think that right now, again, I've never been married, but I've kind of experienced what married life would be like. And I've got to imagine, because a lot of men out there haven't had rites of passage, because most men out there haven't had proper instruction on how to channel and deal with their sexual energy. Like you said, they're getting married early, they're getting women pregnant, and then in their 30s and 40s, as their biological being starts changing, things start changing. Like, oh, that's interesting to think about. Because, I mean, from my experience with women, especially being 40 now, I talk to a lot of women in their 30s, and a lot of them, having been married, tell me about their sexual experiences.
it's not good.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Another, like I sold door to door, you know, that one of the guys in my office was LDS. And I remember one day he came to me and was like, hey, how do you know if your wife's had an orgasm? And I'm like, dude, if you have to ask, she's never had a fucking orgasm, you know? So I just like gave him one little tip, you know, that was it. Just like, hey, you got to go down on her, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's a key to success.
Totally. Dude, I think it was like 2 days later, comes running up and he's like, dude, me and my wife want to invite you over for dinner. Thank you so much. Gave me like a huge hug. Yeah, dude. Went over to dinner. It was kind of awkward, but it shouldn't have been awkward. It was like, you know.
Right.
Yeah. It shouldn't be awkward for people like guys to talk about that stuff or women to talk about that stuff, but for some reason it is, you know.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited about having you on, because to me, like growing up, again, my own experience shapes my reality. Like growing up, my parents are the most loving, affectionate people. So like growing up, like kissing each other, like I kiss my parents now. It was never a big deal. We kiss each other every night before going to bed. Like my dad always super physical with my mom. So me growing up, like never a big deal. I remember I found a book under their bed, like this Kama Sutra book. Like that was, I don't know if it was before the Booby magazine or after, but some point I found this book. It was a book, like a manual. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh man, like what is this shit going on? Like these illustrations, like, oh damn. And so I also think, you know, a lot of people have trauma attached to sex. And for me, like I never had that. Like when you're talking about, you know, your mom has a story, your sister overhears, tells in school, like I have no trauma. Like sex was always, it's really nice, it's really good. Like there's no negativity towards sex in my past kind of growing up. But I think a lot of people have that. And so it puts this like stigma around sex that it's not good. Again, it's a shadow, putting it in the closet, where it's like, hey, we all want it. Everybody wants it. At a cellular level, our DNA is urging us to have it, because that's the only way that the species continues, is through sex. But we've put this like stigma and this taboo around it, so we just stifle it and again put pressure around it. Is that what you find too?
Definitely. And again, it's like it's everywhere. We're exposed to it all the time, but we don't. It's like it's socially inappropriate to talk about it. Like you're talking about, you know, it's not something people can really just have in conversation, and so there's often all this shame and all this guilt around sexuality. But again, it's like you feel like it's something you have to hold inside a lot of the time, so it just never really gets addressed. And it's just like this energy that can be just totally driving your life and helping you manifest, just create amazing things, pleasure, abundance, whatever. It's stuck. It's literally stuck in your body. It can't move, and it's also controlling you in a lot of ways as well.
So let's talk more about that, because that's really the deeper level that you go into, is that it's energy. It's, you know, it's that energy getting stuck in the second chakra, and you talk a lot about, what's that?
The microcosmic orbit.
There you go. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, well, the idea is that, you know, our bodies are made of energy. Like, we're energetic beings. You know, our bodies appear physical, but we're 99.9% empty space. And what's creating physicality is you know, everything's vibrating. Everything's made of energy. These energy fields that are interacting, and when it crystallizes down enough and slows enough in vibration, it forms what appears to be physical form, right? And so this is what's, you know, creating our bodies. So sexual energy is just a specific aspect of this, in that it's this property of amplification, of multiplication, to turn egg and sperm and, you know, multiplying trillions of times to become a human body. That's the potential that this energy has. It also glues things together. You know, it sticks you to people, it sticks you to thoughts and actions and habits. So that's the power of this energy. And so, you know, this chi, this life force, it flows through our bodies in these certain pathways, the meridians that acupuncturists work with. If you've ever seen those charts,
of course,
the spaghetti diagrams, right? And so with skill, with training, you can start to feel energy of your body, and especially your sexual energy, and start to program how it moves in your body. For most men, it's stuck in their genitals until they feel aroused, and it's this irritating feeling. It's like, oh, I've got to get this out of my body. So they jerk off and ejaculate out, or, you know, have sex. So it's like, I need to get this out of me. But when you learn to open up these channels, you create this pathway to where that energy can move internally. So instead of expelling it and losing some of that essence, you charge your body up with it, you hold it within, and it transforms that energy, and, you know, has amazing implications for your health and your creativity.
Yeah, so what you're saying is, like, and not to be derogatory, but the ignorant person, that's, because, I mean, for myself, yeah, you feel it. Like, oh, I've got to get this out. Like, I've either got to jerk off, or I've got to find someone to have sex with. So what you're saying is, rather than just getting rid of that energy, expelling it outwards, you're talking about channeling it inwards, having it cycle through the body, through these, like, energy riverways in our body. And you're saying that you can energize and power up through that.
Exactly. I mean, it's like water, for example, like steam power, right? If you're cooking water and it's turning to steam, if that steam is just expelling in all directions, you lose it. You lose the energy. Right. But if you have like a mechanism where you're harnessing like steam power, right, you're turning into an engine and it's driving other mechanisms.
Dang,
so that's what's happening internally with this energy.
So one thing that I've heard, from some people is that, like, from watching too much porn, either A, they can't get it up, or B, they can't, like, ejaculate from regular sex any longer. What do those people need to do to, like, fix those things?
Stop watching porn.
Cold turkey?
This is, I mean, you might as well, right?
Yeah.
This is the modern pandemic, is porn. I think it's a control system. It's a weapon. Why is it free? You know, even water is not free, but you can go on the internet and, you know, within seconds.
Did you get that?
Like,
water's free. Water's not free, but porn is free. Holy shit.
So it turns us into instant gratification beings. We're okay to just sit at home in shitty circumstances in our life because we have this porn we can sit and jerk off and get enough of a fix that it keeps us going in life, right?
Damn.
I mean, that's oversimplified, but in general, I think that porn is a very weaponized thing, and it creates a lot of distortions in our experience of sexuality, and especially the arousal system of the body. Every time you watch a porn video, you're getting hits of dopamine in the brain, the reward chemical, but your dopamine levels go up so high when you're watching porn that it overloads the brain, and it desensitizes the receptors. So when you're back to the rest of the day, you feel depressed and lethargic because your dopamine's low. So you seek other dopamine behaviors.
You got a huge rush.
Yeah.
So everything else from there on out it's mundane.
Yeah.
It's pointless.
And again, anyone with any sort of device now can be watching porn within a few seconds. So that's how readily available it is.
Right.
It's the modern drug.
And also, let's say a few thousand years ago, for someone to have sex, they would have to go out and kill, or they would have to win over.
Yeah,
but now
to work for it.
Right. So
which is what dopamine's meant to be. It's meant to be like you did something, you accomplished something. Now you get this reward, but
that's the highest level too.
Yeah.
Sex.
Yeah.
That's the highest level besides like killing big game. So it's like, from anything else, like you're depressed because it's not nearly the reward as sex or eating.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. But would you also translate that over to, let's say, meaningless sex?
I think that could be attributed to that definitely as well. I mean, at least you're having a real physical interaction with a human, so there's some degree of, exchange, we could say, but still sex that's disconnected from, I would say, a deeper emotional connection, love, just kind of getting off. It can still be an addictive, draining
100%.
behavior.
Wow, man.
I read an article, I'm trying to think when it was a couple years back, but it was like saying that porn was poisoning people's minds. And I was like thinking about it, I'm like, damn, dude, I still do it, but I didn't enjoy sex as much as I used to. And I remember like the first 15 days that I stopped watching porn, it was like a noticeable change. Like that 15th day, I was like, damn, dude, this does feel way better,
Oh, yeah.
And then, so I mean, I've maybe watched it like a couple of times since then, like somebody sends me like a funny video, like a funny porn video or something like that, but I don't really watch it. But I do enjoy sex so much more now that I stopped watching it. So it's awesome that I got to talk to you because now I understand why. It's crazy though.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge part of my life for a long time, and then in the last couple of years, that's why I asked you about meaningless sex, and now it's like I've gotten to the end of that road. That now it's like, oh, that's so boring, like it's so meaningless that. Now, like yourself, like getting married, like I think like, oh, I'm almost 40. Like, what really matters in my life? Because like going down that road of just exhausting it to a level where it's like, oh, now it's just mundane. It's so lame and pointless. Like what's something that's like continuous? And that's like real true love, real true connection versus like this empty, hollow, like you said, just a huge high and then it's just like this crash. That's wild to think about. So you think men just cold turkey? Because I thought I saw somewhere in today, like how has your philosophy changed? Because now you're saying like, I don't remember to paraphrase, like men under the age of 40 should be ejaculating like once every 8 days, men over 40. Like, how does that work?
So that's more of a like you can. That's kind of like it's a Taoist ancient Chinese thing of like how often men can ejaculate. If you really want to ejaculate as much as you want, can, right? And the whole thing with that is that the sort of esoteric view is that semen's the essence of our body. In Ayurveda, they say it's the most refined substance of the body. The body turns our food into blood, into bone marrow, and the last product is semen. So it's the most refined. It's loaded with life force and nutrients. And so,
oh my God.
So if we're spending this energy more than we're taking in, if it gets to the point as we age that it's harder to keep on the demands, because when you're ejaculating frequently, the body's putting like 30% of its energy into creating more sperm. And if you're not using that to create a human, what's the point of sending all that energy out, right?
Yeah, it's like worth its weight in gold.
And so it's taking resources from your organs, from your spinal fluid, your brain. You're drying yourself up literally by overly ejaculating. And so this timelines are basically like a man in his 20s can ejaculate every 4 days without, being in a deficit, right? When you're 30s, it's like 8 days, something like that. And there's a lot of factors to it, your lifestyle,
of course,
all these
diet,
things, right?
all these things. But yeah, what you're saying is it's like a bank account.
But you were mentioning cold turkey and porn, and that's probably not going to work best for most people. My journey with it was I was understanding this as I was also starting to practice qigong, meditation, yoga. And I found that these things were like giving me this natural high because you get life force going through your body. And so I would do this and then I'd be watching porn, trying to jerk off. I'm like, this actually doesn't feel good anymore. So it was just it's like you start to replace these old habits with more beneficial things. And then you naturally start to push the old things away. I think that's, is find new things to put your energy into.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not so much going cold turkey, but it's finding powerful, constructive habits that once you practice those long enough, the energy you get from those is so powerful. It far outweighs the instant gratification.
Totally.
So let me ask you this, what caused you to choose qigong over yoga?
Well, I had been practicing yoga for several years. I was, way into yoga. I was actually considering doing an in-depth yoga teacher training, right? And then I had been practicing Kundalini yoga, which is a very fiery, intense form of yoga. I'd been doing it for about 2 years, and I was starting to feel very ungrounded, unbalanced, like spacey. And, I heard this thing called Kundalini psychosis, which is basically too much yang energy, too much this rising fire energy, which, the yogic path is all about. Open up the upper center, just like launch your energy up into the higher realms, right? Yeah. And then I discovered qigong and the Taoist philosophy, which is more of this. It's instead of just trying to get blast energy up into heaven, it's like heaven and earth and equal. So it's like this circulation up and down. So the practice emphasizes more grounding, working with the lower energy centers of the body, really opening up to hold this field that supports building
it's the foundation of your house.
So it's just a bit more body centric and grounded, I found personally. It's just my own preference with the practice. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm trying to think, is it the way of Zen or
the way of the superior man?
No, well, it might be. I don't know, but it's a book that I listened to. It's trying to explain Buddhism to Westerners. Let me see. It's in here.
Just in general, a quick note about qigong is I found it was a quicker gateway to like a tangible experience of energy. Versus yoga can be a bit more physical. You're stretching, you're breathing, but like qigong is like you're really feeling the energy and moving it.
So I went to one of your qigong classes.
That's right.
So just obviously no guarantees, but like shoot from the hip. How many practices until you feel it?
Some people feel it the first time. It's really a matter of like having the right little aspects of practice, things to focus your mind on it, and relaxation. Basically it's mind in the body and relaxation. You'll start feeling your energy pretty quickly. If it's like you put your hands together,
right?
You start doing this, you'll feel this energy field between them. So it just becomes a matter of amplifying that to your whole body.
Okay. So are you saying that qi is not only feel it in your inside and within yourself, but you can feel it outside of yourself?
Oh yeah.
Because qi is everywhere.
Everything is qi. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Did you find that book?
Yeah, it's called The Way of Zen by Alan Watts.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to explain Buddhism to a Westerner because it's really hard for us to put ourselves into somebody from Asia's shoes, right? Because our world is so much different than theirs. So even though they're like, you could learn Japanese or Chinese or whatever and then read all of these books, right? But you're not going to understand any of them because we are programmed completely different. Like they live in a different world than we do. Right. And so it's like this guy, like he's a Westerner, goes over there. I think it's like 15, 20 years, tries to learn as much as he can and then tries to break it down. The beginning of the book's a little boring, but as it goes on, it's crazy to think about because I feel like a lot of Americans listen to take their turn speaking next, right? Like that's how Westerners are. Like when I listen to you, I'm just waiting for my chance to talk. I'm not truly listening to you. Whereas, they truly listen to people and sometimes it might take them a while to respond to you. And it makes some people crazy here, right? Like if I'm wanting to talk to you and you say something that really makes me think and it takes me a couple minutes, most people can't wait that couple of minutes. They're like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Yeah. Why aren't you talking to me? But truly, I don't know why, but some people really should take more time to think about stuff, right? Before they respond. And that shouldn't bug people either because there's some heavy questions out there, or maybe it's not a heavy question to you, but I feel like there's got to be some give and take, right? And over here, there is no give and take. It's just take. Yeah. One thing I was thinking about today is in construction, all I ever hear from people is like, oh, this is my dream house. This is my dream kitchen. But I thought about like, what if I was in that situation where somebody was pushing me to do something that we really couldn't afford or that we really couldn't do, and it made me think like, hey, why don't you give up these two things for a year, and then we'll buy a house that's your dream house, right? But nobody's willing to give up anything. They just want their dream house, right? But they're not willing to wait a year or 2 years or even 5 years. It has to happen right now. And I don't know what has changed in the Western world that makes us think we need everything right now. Maybe it's porn. But I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's that instant gratification mindset. Yeah. That everything. That kind of leads me to the next thought I have is, what are the benefits? What have you found over the last few years? What are the benefits of learning how to harness one's sexual energy?
There's a lot of benefits. More energy, more confidence, better health, clear mind. I mean, everything, right? As I was saying, your body's putting 30% of its energy to creating more sperm. When you're no longer having that demand, you have 30% more energy. Plus, you're able to turn that energy into something that is fueling other, your creative processes, creative outlets, like Napoleon Hill talking about sexual transmutation. It's just, it massively changed who I was. I went from being this really lazy, instant gratification. I thought I had ADD, like I couldn't focus on things and finish tasks, like completely changed who I was. Like all of a sudden I became very driven, very confident, just like I'm no longer working minimum wage jobs. I'm like doing what I want to do and like making things happen. So just, it really, it's this fire of creation and drive and just like, creating the life that you want, really.
Yeah,
that's what it does for you.
So, yeah, because I mean, that chapter, sexual transmutation, like before meeting you, like there was a couple months that I listened to that chapter every single day, just understanding, because it is, again, it's the most powerful energy we have as humans that creates life, and we're just spilling it on a towel or in someone that we don't know, well, or a balloon.
Totally. Yeah, but I mean that makes me think too. Is like the world revolves around sex, right? Like the most driven men, they catch like the most attractive driven women, right? That's crazy to think about. Like if you want to be successful in life, it's usually sexually driven.
Oh yeah, I mean, but let me ask you this: have you ever read Think and Grow Rich?
I have not.
Dude, the chapter on sexual transmutation. So like you say, like men don't want financially successful women.
Right.
Men want nurturers. We want women who will have babies and take care of the babies and take care of the household. Like that's, and it says in that chapter, like, and I feel it for myself, like me, like I don't really want anything. I got a badass Prius outside, paid off. I got a badass Lexus gas guzzler. And I thought about today, like, man, if I found a woman that like I could really like dedicate my life to, like he talks about it in that chapter on sexual transmutation, I would give her every penny I got because I don't care about money. I would do anything to keep her happy as long as she keeps the pipes clean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because
to me, like I'm a very simple guy. Like I don't really want much material. I just want love, connection, someone I can, talk to, be vulnerable with. Like that's what it talks about in that is like, man, the power of that energy. And when not only men understand it, but women understand the difference between love and sex and how to combine those energies. Like, oh my God, it's so powerful. It's such a powerful creative force that we can use, because how much energy does the average man spend in trying to get sex, when if he learned how to harness and transmute that, like putting it towards his business, putting it towards his body, putting it towards his spiritual growth, like we spend so much time and energy. And that's what I would ask you, is getting kind of into left field. Do you think that it's a conspiracy, or do you think there's some sort of motherfuckers in a white tower that they understand that power and they have actually used it to manipulate us towards instant gratification? Because now look, the average guy can just sit, oh my God, with VR, you put VR on, oh dude, it's like you're there. If you got a fleshlight and a VR...
That's the future.
What do you need a woman for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not good.
When they have sex robots now too.
Oh yeah.
I imagine like extraterrestrials learning like these are the sex habits of humans, and they're like VR and fleshlight.
Oh man. Yeah, and they're just laughing like, oh man, these guys are idiots. Oh man, Neanderthals. Holy cow. That's wild. Let me ask you this. How do you think that these teachings and these practices transfer over into being married now? So you're saying you never bust a nut?
No, I'm saying I never bust a nut, but I don't more than about once a month.
Once a month?
Even having sex every day.
Because, since finding you and getting access to your course, like one thing, there's a huge differentiation between ejaculation and an orgasm. Mm-hmm. And when you learn the difference between the two, men can have multiple orgasms. You just don't. Once you ejaculate, game over.
Yeah.
Game over. It's time to take a nap and get a sandwich.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a napper, dude. Afterwards, I like maybe last like 5 seconds and I'm out, you know? So let's hear, because I've never even heard that before. So this is new to me.
Oh, this is game changer because it will change the game.
I will say through meditation, like, you know, when you hit that like beginning stage, you're like, okay, I'm about to go bust quick, right?
Yeah.
I just fucking zone out and boom, like nothing happens, right? Just turn it off basically. It's like my brain shuts down and I just like go, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But now I need more information. Yeah.
So basically, you know, ejaculation and orgasm are two different processes that occur at the same time. It's like, you know, nature's reward for us getting women pregnant. There's an orgasm. But there's different types of orgasm. There's, you know, the physical spasming of the prostate, pumping the fluid. You can have those types of orgasms at a mild level without ejaculating. But there's also, the main thing I focus on is a more energetic experience of orgasm. So basically what's happening for a man kind of energetically during sex is all this pressure's building up. You know, we feel that like, okay, it builds up to a maximum level. It's kind of this tension response, and you know, It hits a certain point. There's only the only way for the energy to go is out, right? So it's this building, this pressure, right? Well, we were talking about the microcosmic orbit. So basically you open up this energetic pathway upwards in the body. So as you're feeling that pressure build, you use your mind and, you know, certain physical engagements to draw it up the orbit. So this pressure is being released internally, which means now this orgasm is building up in your entire body instead of just your prostate area to explode semen out. So
that's where you get the toes curled.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, like, what's one practical practice Ken can put into practice tonight? Because like what you're saying is like for me, what I learned is like I just either pull out let's say 10 is I'm about to bust a nut. Okay, at level 7 I'm pulling out because rather than getting to 10, I'm feeling it. I'm going within. I'm feeling the orgasm within my body, but I'm not ejaculating. Then once it subsides, then I go from, let's say, a 7 down to a 4, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can re-enter. Okay, so what are some practical...
So the first thing is to get out of the mindset of like, I'm trying to make this orgasm happen, right?
Right.
That's, as men, we're very goal oriented during sex. Like we're often driven like, okay, it's all about, so I can bust a nut, have that 5 seconds of pleasure, then it's over. I noticed that I was spending years of my life just in that state of ignoring everything else that was happening just to get to that point. So release the goal orientation of trying to get anywhere and relax more. Feel your breath. It's like notice where you're tensing up in your body, because that's one thing that blocks this energy from flowing is we start to get really tense, right? So you relax, you breathe deeply, and slow down your climbing on the arousal scale. Instead of just, fist pumping away till you're right at the 10.
Wow, because we've actually conditioned ourselves.
Through porn.
Whoa,
This slamming, quick stimulation, slow it down and learn to feel like every little sensation and breathe into it. Be like, okay, this feels good. And as you absorb your mind more into what's happening rather than trying to make something happen in the future, you're feeling what is now. It starts to expand this feeling. You relax deeply, and you'll notice how you want to tense up as you feel pleasure. Instead, you relax and you let the energy flood your body, and you'll start feeling very, very orgasmic. And you actually want to stay away from the point that you feel like you're going to ejaculate. And just hover that like 6-7 level you were talking about. Just breathe into it.
Yeah. I've never really been able to like there are some girls that like it rough, right? And they're like no way around it. But I was blessed with very good size dong, so I've never really been able to like go super fast, right? Because it usually hurts. So I've always had to go slow. It took me a long time to learn that, but it's helped a ton. But it really does. Like, I don't think girls really like getting pounded most of the time. Like, I maybe met like 2 girls that were like, and it's every once in a while, right? It's like not all the time that they want it rough, but like, I don't think girls actually like it rough. It's from like the consensus I've gotten. Is that typical? Like,
I mean, it definitely varies. A lot of them will try to have the man go rough because it's what they know. Right. It's like, well, I saw some porn. This is what I've done forever. Too. This is what men want. Right. But I would say in general, I would say really it's about dynamics, like being able to go slow, and it becomes a dance. It's like, okay, now this is going to feel better. Now we slow down a bit. Because if you're doing the same thing the whole time, especially really fast movements, it kind of deadens the nerves and it actually doesn't feel as good. It becomes more of like a mental, visual-based stimulus, like just the mental arousal of it versus what you're actually feeling. But when you slow down, at least take periods where you're going really slow, you're able to feel so much more, and allows your body, your nervous system to handle that charge of arousal without pushing you to ejaculation. So it's like this period of consolidating that energy, and then you can kind of play with speed as well.
Yeah, and from my experience, women actually, they tend to like it way more when you're slow and you're in that energy. You're in the moment.
Totally.
You're with them because they are much more feeling beings. They're not just trying to get it out and get it over with. They are trying to make a connection. So you're in the moment, and it's not just about busting a nut. It's about being in that energy and connecting to each other. Like, that's
so when Gary sent me that we were going to be on here to talk with you, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's like Mike and Dave need dates for a wedding or something like that, and something along those lines. And they go to a wedding retreat, and there's like a yoga master there, and they send the sister to get the special massage from him, and he like hits all 7 of her chakras. Have you guys ever seen that movie? It's Zac Efron and the dude from Workaholics, kind of
Adam Levine.
I don't know if it's I don't know
the small dark-haired guy.
Yeah, from Workaholics. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they like need dates for a wedding, so they like go on the.
Yes, I know what movie you're talking about.
And his sister's getting married to that guy, and then at the thing, the 2 dates like pay for her to go to like some yoga master, and so that's what I was like picturing, was like that guy. You know, when Gary told me, I was like, all right, this guy's gonna teach us how to hit some chakras and knock out some orgasms, you know.
But I think like another to that point, what to your point you just bring up is I think a lot of men out there are just about themselves. How do I get an orgasm, or how do I ejaculate to let that energy out? Mm-hmm. Like me, like my own perspective was I am always about them. Like, to me, it's very mutual. I don't know. Again, going back to my parents even, you know?
Well, that changes with age, I feel like, because I'm sure even at a younger age, there was a time that you were all about you, because you're more selfish when you're younger. Because I feel like there's been a paradigm shift, at least in my life, where I was just in it for me, didn't really give a shit. And then totally. At some point I was like, okay, well, it's really easy for me to go. Now the real work is like getting the girl to go. And so I started like, and maybe it is something that you learn from porn or whatnot, which you're probably, because I remember there was like I clicked on how to make a girl squirt, right? And that was like my first time, and I was like, dude, girls can squirt, you know? And so I watched this video, and it was all about like, finding the perfect body angle, hitting the right spot. Like, you know what I mean? It broke it down for me. And I was like, damn, girls can squirt. I was like, I want to make every girl do this, you know?
Right.
But you have to like, there are educational videos out there, right? Like there are things you can learn those things from, but instead it's like guys are clicking on like, anal pie hole or whatever, right? Like the worst shit. And so there was like a shift where I was like, okay, well, this isn't working. Like I'm not making girls orgasm from this. And so then I started watching how-to videos, and I was like, damn, this is way more informational, you know?
Right. So now let's go to, because Montauk Chia talks about that the gateways the lips, the neck, the nipples, like opening up each gateway before you. He talks about even what's it like the, like the ovary or he's like there's an orgasm. Cervical orgasm. There you go, where you're just like deep in there.
Well, let's hear about this. Yeah.
Just like opening different channels. Like what do you're the you.
So it's this poor oriented, and I think that was a good point about. I don't want to sound like this, like, weird Mormon guy, like porn is going to send you to hell and all these things. It's like, there could be some benefits. Sure. Like it teaches us at least about, maybe sexual experiences. And like you said, you can learn instructional things to it. Right. But I think the problem is when you're jerking off to porn every day, we can agree on that. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
But having said that, where was I going? Yeah. Oh, right. So women, I noticed this pattern that, I want to tend to like rush into sex and just like, start slamming and things like that. But women need to be opened up. It's like women are like water, men are like fire. Men are quick to burn, but they're also quick to burn out. Women must be slowly brought up to a boil, but then once they're hot, like they stay hot for a while, right?
Fucking good.
So for a man, the way to his heart is through his penis, but for a woman, the way to her yoni, her pussy, is through her heart. So you want to get her in her body. So you don't want to start with her private parts. You want to start, talking to her, talking sweetly to her, touching her arms, her shoulders, her face, relaxing her head, and just slowly making your way down through her body. And, the genitals are the last part, right? And so once she should be like inviting you in, you're activating the suction quality of the yoni palace, right? It starts to suck you in. She's wet. She's ready. So a man should not enter a woman until she's fully ready to receive. Otherwise, it can be painful for her. It can actually pull on the man's energy and make him ejaculate quickly. So everything outside of the pussy first, right? And then the clitoral orgasm, which is what most women have only experienced, is clitoral orgasms. But that's like, it's a very limited orgasm for women. It's similar to the ejaculatory orgasm for men in that it's a quick kind of sharp peak, and then sometimes there's a bit of recovery period. And there's the G spot, which is about 1 inch or 2 inches within the upper vulva or the vagina. Sorry. And so the G spot is a place where women hold often they hold emotions, traumas from the past and things like that. So it can be very tender in the beginning, but with massage work, you can start to open that up. And when she's in a safe, space, when she's like feeling surrendered and trusting of you in that space, you can activate that, give her a G-spot orgasm, which often makes her squirt. And it can be an incredibly powerful experience for her. Obviously, it can be life-changing, like psychedelic, mind-bending experience. And for you to be there helping create that experience and holding it, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. You got to find like the right angle, maybe wear a glove because they don't like the skin.
My God.
Dude, this informational video was dope. I learned a lot, but he's totally right. Like you just got to, it's patience,
Oh yeah.
And caring. A lot of caring. Yeah. Like you're saying, like for me, like let's say I've done a lot of psychedelics. So to sit down with someone that's never done them, if I was going to be like their guide, like I'd want to be very attentive and so the same thing, like with someone that I care about, like, if I'm going to go there, knowing it's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Once you know that, it's like, hey, I'm not just going to be throwing this around so I can do like some circus trick, It's like, hey, like this is... Because if you don't come with that attention, it could just reinforce the traumas potentially.
Definitely.
Dang, that was, oh man.
And so that's something sometimes you have to be careful with, like the more like the male, like here's how you do A, B, C, she squirts. Because there was a lot of women, I dated some women where, that worked great with, but there's some women where it can actually cause them pain to be kind of those forceful, if they have trauma in that area, if they're not ready to open up to that. So for some women, it's more of like this inner work that they need to do themselves as well. And so, sometimes the vagina has all these like trigger points, like these like muscle knots in there that's causing them pain. So you can actually go in and do some massage work to help them open up those areas. And there's often a lot of emotion, there's memory in those areas. And then the cervical orgasm, which is the deeper, deepest part of the vagina, that's one of the most powerful experiences for women. Gotcha. And it's one that can be even beyond the G-spot squirting orgasm as well.
Wow.
What do you mean?
Just a deeper level. I mean, again, this is just from what I've heard from women, because I haven't, I don't have a cervix, but they say it's even just this, like it's this feeling of merging with the universe and just like absolute, like going out of the body.
That's when they fall in love.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when they truly, deeply fall in love. Yeah.
Until then, if you're married and you haven't given your lady a cervical orgasm, she does not really love you. She doesn't even know what love really is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's wild. Dang, man. I mean, what's the point of it all, though, do you think, at the end?
Well, I think that sex is about a lot more than just physical procreation. It's like you look at nature. All animals have a certain mating season where it's like they're sexual during this period, and then they have no interest. But humans are not like this. It's like why? Like on a purely procreational level, it doesn't make sense. I think this is a higher ability.
Do you think it's because we can use more of our brain? It's like the same thing with dolphins. The dolphins are, I guess one of the smartest animals, and they have sex for pleasure as well. So do you feel like it's because we use more of our brain than animals, or because I'll let you keep going with what you were saying?
I mean, I think that there may be a lot to it, it's more of like this evolution in that we get beyond just the most base survival experience of reality. Like for us humans, our reality is about a lot more than survival, where we have these existential ideas and we have religions, spirituality. It's like we're interested in a lot more than just surviving now that we've progressed beyond that level. So I think that sex it's almost like a technology that can be used to heal us and to generate life force and to it creates, right? Obviously it creates babies, but everything is creative out of this merging of polarities, this magnetic merging that creates this third force that's birthed into being. That's what sexual energy does. It's this force of creation. So that's what we're really tapping into.
Damn.
Do you think, because let's break it into like levels from physical to non-physical. At the physical level, sex it's procreative, but at a non-physical level, at our energy body and at our spirit body, that when we're doing this, when we come from most people out there having sex are coming from a totally physical base. But once your awareness changes and you start to understand the things we're talking about, the Montauk Chia, the qigong, the sexual transmutation, when that awareness shifts, then and only then, if you're doing the work, then you're going to become more aware of your energetic body. And then when if you can find a partner that you're connecting with on an energetic, spiritual level, then sex becomes, like you're saying, it's regenerative, it's healing, like all of those energies that are so far beyond just the physical.
Definitely. I mean, sex is like a microcosm of these greater processes. It's like the rays of the sun is fertilizing the earth. The earth is this receptive, that's a sexual process happening. It's creating life, right? Our planet's birthing thousands of species, and it's this sex is everywhere, really. Our bodies are made of cells constantly reproducing themselves, constantly the cellular sex that is literally keeping us alive. That's our physical longevity, is the sex of our cells. So everything is made of this energy, and it's, once you see it, you start to tap into it and resonate with it. And when you can engage in it with love and like integrity, it completely changes the quality of it.
God damn. Yeah, that's powerful.
So this leads me to my next question, because I've been waiting to ask you this. So recently, they were able to procreate robots, and they used AI to make them make babies differently than any other creature on Earth does, right? So they reproduce differently. And I don't know the exacts. I just read this article on it that they came out. They were supposed to look like little robot frogs, but instead they came out looking like Pac-Man. Do you feel like maybe we've been doing this wrong the whole time? Like maybe we should be or maybe not procreating, but like, is there, I think of like Demolition Man when they put the little headset on and they like visualize having sex. Do you think that's the future for us? Or do you feel like, the way we have sex now is like the way, right?
Well, this is kind of getting into the AI potential, dystopian future and this transhumanism and disconnecting from that which makes us human, which is feeling, which is being in these organic physical bodies. When we become overly technological, it's like it's this logic, right? It's all the brain, this mental body, and everything becomes logical. We lose feeling, we lose that which truly makes us human, I think. So I'm not exactly sure if that ties into what you're asking, but yeah. I think the future, there's different timelines we can go on. We can go on this AI timeline where everything's mechanized, everything's roboticized. We're having sex with fleshlights plugged into a VR machine. That doesn't sound like a future I want to be in. Totally. I don't see much much overall deep fulfillment from that, right? But we could talk about spiritual evolution. You know, there's these esoteric concepts of us evolving and activating this higher level of our energy body. Some people call it ascension, right? Where we have all this dormant DNA. It's like, what, 90% of our DNA, they call it junk DNA, but I think it's just they don't actually understand what it does. Our DNA is like an antenna for the energy field that we live in. It's like when we upgrade our Wi-Fi, you know, all of a sudden we're picking up new information we couldn't even process before. Same thing, I think, with our DNA. We're perceiving more of what reality is, because we only actually perceive a small percentage of what reality truly is. So as we activate into these deeper abilities, we become more connected with experiencing other dimensional realities. And I guess that would expand our sexual experience quite a bit. You know, we can talk about astral sex, spiritual sex, where you're not even physically with that person, but you're having this sexual experience. So that's more of the future I would like to be in. Yeah.
Now, to that point, do you think that with you and Mariah now, like, are you through your practice, through not only because you're doing qigong every morning, you're doing some swords and all this other stuff, do you think that through these practices that you were talking about, like astral sex, like, are you look at it like levels to a game? Like when you were playing that game with intention and with integrity, do you think that like your guys's, or I shouldn't say you guys, but just you, that your like experience through the doorway of sex is changing and evolving?
Definitely.
Really?
Definitely. It's, you know, there's experiences sometimes where like we're not even physically connecting. We're already like having orgasms together. That's like another benefit of like really cultivating deeply with the person, is you start to get on this deep resonance level. You start to know their body, they know yours, you know their soul, and like you're having orgasms together without even physically touching. You know, it's
Dude,
the amazing things that are possible.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, you know, and I've had a lot of these, you know, I talk about these cosmic orgasms where it's like I'm going into this full body type of orgasm, which feels just like this energy. It's like your entire body feels like the penis and it's just pulsating. And I've had these experiences where it's like my awareness just blasts out beyond my body and I'm like feeling all the stars and the planets just like having this cosmic orgasm together. It's like it becomes all the cells in your body just pulsating. And I don't know, these are the kinds of things that it's possible to experience.
Wow. And at the same time, when you explain that to me, it just sounds like a battery. Like you're just taking in massive amounts of energy because you're disconnecting from the physical body. You're really tapping into that energetic body.
I wouldn't say disconnecting. You're using it as like an anchor, a bridge, so that you can expand. It's like the tree sends down its roots so it can grow taller. It's this root that you can expand from.
Wow. And then when you're expanding from it, you're just like the sun, like you're just taking in that energy and just like supercharging, you know?
And that's why, you know, a lot of the foundational work for this is qigong, is yoga, is opening up, because you need to upgrade your circuitry, we could say, to be able to handle this kind of energy, or else you blow a circuit.
And that's like when you we've talked about this in the past, when you've done like, I've had instances where I've done psychedelics and it's been like, I'm like, all right, I don't want to touch those for a long time, you know, because you just took in so much information.
Oh, yeah.
And it just like killed you for a little bit, right?
Yes.
You get that like anxiety of like, oh, am I ever going to be normal again? But then eventually, or essentially, you always do come back. But I have totally been there before, where I'm just like, oh man, that was
Never
a lot.
doing that again.
Yeah, that was a lot, dude. Yeah, for sure. That's crazy.
Oh man, that is wild. All right. So, I mean, it's, and the physical practices, you know, be it yoga or qigong, that is to have a physical expression or a physical channel or outlet for that energy, rather than just like stifling it up, sitting it, playing video games, but inside you're like, I gotta fuck.
It's like our body was meant to be wired into nature. You know what I mean? We're meant to have our feet in the earth, to breathe in the fresh oxygen of the trees, but we're living in these cages, disconnect from that. So qigong and yoga are ways of reconnecting back into the natural life force and how it flows through these various bodies of the universe.
Yeah, because we have just become, I mean, in 2022, we're so disconnected from nature, so disconnected from our other bodies, that we're just so in the physical body. And because like we feel these urges that we don't know, it creates fear, worry, anxiety, that it's just constant distraction, food, social media, video games, whatever it is, to try to distract rather than how can I find ways to merge and to reconnect and ground with nature, you know?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, man, that's wild. That is wild. How's that crypto doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It blew way up. It's it's down a bit now, but still way up on what I put in.
Did you ever take any out?
I haven't taken any out yet.
Never?
No. I'm thinking about taking my Celsius out, but
why?
Do you think it's going to continue to go beyond that initial explosion? What was that, last year?
I mean, you got in at like 10 cents.
Yeah.
Dude, so 2019, me and Jonathan meet a couple times. He comes over to set up a crypto portfolio. Dude, he got, I mean, primo time. Primo.
Oh, yeah.
Celsius at 10 cents. XRP at less than 50 cents. Maybe around like 25 cents. Just great entry points. Great stuff. I mean, I'm a hold forever. Yeah. But what I would do is let's get together to like see like what, because man, you've been collecting interest.
Oh yeah.
You've been collecting fucking interest for 3 years. So you could take some of that interest, not even touch the principal, take some of that interest because you guys are moving.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the only thing. I'm like, down payment of a house, but I might not even need to do it. So.
Well,
yeah.
But the cool thing about Celsius, just take a loan out. Take a loan out. There's no taxes against that loan. Use that as the down payment. Then wait for the Celsius to go back up, and then you pay the loan off with that Celsius as it goes back up. So wow.
One other thing too is like we're in this awkward spot right now where the world is just realizing like crypto, right? Like they're realizing the importance of it because you've got Russia who like basically their ruble went to like nothing and all the banks shut down, right? And then you got Ukraine where they did shut down all the banks and people, the only money that they had was through Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And people are starting to realize that. More and more people are starting to message me and ask me about crypto. And not necessarily means that they're going to buy into it yet because usually sheep take a while to jump ahead of everybody. But we're in this weird pivotal moment where I think the world is about to switch everything to cryptocurrency. Our government has came out and said they're going to come out with a cryptocurrency, which I suggest no one buy into because they can easily take your money away from you. They can see everything that you're doing, right? So that's what you want to stay away from because why do you want them, Big Brother, in your pockets, right? Yeah. And that's why crypto is so beautiful because even if like, let's say they come in and arrest me because I have cryptocurrency, when I get out of jail, all I have to do is get out and log into my shit and no one else could have taken that stuff. Right. So it's really, we're in this pivotal spot right now in history where it's all, and you talk about this all the time. Every system they have is crashing right now. The IRS is crashing, FBI, CIA. We realize that these aren't really like good people, right? Like the CIA, FBI, like everything that's coming out now about how like they are the ones why all these drug lords, grow a bit. They go down and like give them the funding and tell them how to get big and how to get drugs into the United States, which it's illegal. So it's why is our government people, bringing it in and helping them get that stuff here. But just this weird like give and take. Like if you follow the rules, their rules, then you can do whatever you want. But really, I think people are waking up that we don't have to follow their rules. We can make our own rules.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not only with crypto, but I think even with this conversation, there are paradigms. There are pillars to our paradigm, the collective paradigm, be it money, government, religion, gender, sex. Like these pillars that built the collective paradigm, they're now all in question because of the spread of information and these new technologies. Now, information is what really causes change. People don't change when you preach at them. They only change when they get a piece of information that unlocks something in their mind. So like talking with you today about sex, like, oh my gosh, like think about if we would back in the 40s or 50s when things were so much more conservative, like there's no way. Like, oh my gosh, if my parents wouldn't watch this, they'd be like, it's too much. They are not. I mean, my parents are kind of open, but most people, like, this type of stuff. So be it government, it was only a couple hundred years ago. If you would say anything bad about the government, it's like, oh, we need to kill that guy.
Yeah.
So like all of these pillars are in question. And so for me, it's just so exciting to be alive right now and to just be witnessing it, to be going merrily down the stream, watching things, like watching without attachment. Like that's my intention, is I want to be accepting of everything. I'm just going to accept things as they come in, like rather than resist. It's like, hey, I'm accepting of money changing, government changing, gender, sex. Like, hey, like I definitely don't know anything. I'm an idiot. I'm just trying to just go along and just learn from people and just keep doing the best that I can all the way down. Because man, like you said, like it is crazy. And the only way to get out of it is to let go of the false ideals you've been holding on to, the information that you learned as a child. It's letting go of that. That's the way into the future. Suffering comes from holding on to ideals that you're so holding on to that you're not willing to let go of. So it's like, hey, let go of that. We're all here for the same things. Feeling good, loving each other, having sex, eating good food, being merry. That's what everybody wants that. But me, I'm big into karma. We all have these karmic lessons that we came here to learn. So, hey, there's some people that they reincarnated in Russia or Ukraine. They got lessons to learn by just living there and existing there. There's people who I got karmic lessons I've got to learn. That's why I'm right here, right now, trying to learn my lessons. So we're all trying to learn these lessons so that we can all get to that, to me, eventual place of a utopia. It's like, hey, we all want the same thing. We all just want to love each other and care about each other and have a good time. But to get there, we have to let go of the ideals that we've been programmed to believe from the people that came before us, because they're just stories that were created. And then they got you to believe in these like imaginary lines on a piece of paper in school and to like all these weird things. It's like when you really look at them after you eat a bunch of mushrooms and you look at them, you're like, man, that is so dumb. That makes no sense,
Like having to ask to go to the bathroom in school.
Oh my God. No. I think about that all the time, because I think about Noah. It's like, dude, you're teaching him how to be an employee. Man. His teacher, when I see his teacher, I'm like, oh, dude, that's a big, mean boss. They're like, oh, I got to go to my boss at work. Like, oh, can I go to the bathroom? It's like, dude, like, no, that's... And they give you assignments, like, here's your work for the day. Like, when the bell goes, lunchtime, it's like you work in a factory. So,
8 to 5.
Those ideals. Yeah, 100%. It's a full-time job. Yeah, all those things are crashing. And I can only speak for myself. And from the outside, I see you guys are a lot the same. Like, I live in a bubble. I'm trying to just insulate myself as much as I can. Like, I only hang out with certain people, only talk to certain people. I don't want any of that stuff in my bubble. Like, oh man, I'm praying for all you guys. Oh, I'm praying you guys get it. But man, until you do, I'm just gonna lay low because you guys are freaking loco.
Yeah. Well, and it's I think it's like stepping outside of like your comfort zone, right? Like there I don't know if you guys watch sports like Colin Kaepernick. I watched that, and everyone around me, or not everyone, but a lot of people were like super upset about him kneeling at the national anthem. But, we don't know his story. We don't know what he went through of why he got to this point where he thought he had to do this. And not to get to like political or anything like that, because I don't politically align with what he thinks, right? But I think that he has some truth to everything, right? Everyone has truth to what through their life experiences. And I think it is crazy that people were so upset about that. It's crazy, right? Like, it's crazy that I go to a meeting for BNI or BCI or whatever, and we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the thing. And if you don't do it, everyone's like, oh, didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
But it's just crazy that like that's the type of programming they do. That's what you did in school, right? Pledge of Allegiance. You pledged yourself to America. You did it. It's just crazy that like from day one they just program you all.
Oh yeah, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's everywhere. And so now like going full circle, like look how like pornography is just it's no big deal. It's propagated. It's just everywhere, no big deal. Say your Pledge of Allegiance and then go jerk off, It's like that's just part of the culture of I can only say America. Like I don't know how cultures are in other countries, but yeah, I mean we're programmed to these things.
Well, and then even like Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like when he's like,
oh yeah,
how many times do you jerk off a day? He's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's
maybe
rookie
like
numbers.
Yeah, rookie numbers. You need to pump those puppies up, right? You need to be doing it at least twice a day. Yeah. I remember watching that, going, "Damn, man, he might be right." I probably do.
My God.
I probably do need to nut.
Yeah, you go get a check. He talks about when you get a big check, you got to go jerk off at the bathroom. Oh my gosh, oh man.
But you're teaching opposite from that. You don't want to jerk off after you get a big check. You want to use that energy to go get a bigger check.
Right, yeah, because that is creative energy. Mm-hmm. It really is. And so, yeah, I mean, for me this year, super proud. What's today? The 14th? Dude, I haven't had sex at all this whole year. I'm pumped. Pumped. Let me think. Yeah, I haven't. Because again, like this year, my goal was I got to take care of my body. Part of taking care of my body is that, like, hey, realizing like I'm out of control. I'm not in control of this. My urges of the animal body are taking control. Like, hey, I got to get control of this. I've got to take, if for me to go where I want to go in my life, I see these obstacles that I actually set up on my own. I created my own obstacles because in this game that I'm playing, the only way for me to evolve is to get through those obstacles.
Yeah.
So I actually created them. So to see that and be like, oh, okay, I created this. I know the way through it. I've attracted into my life people that are experts on this stuff so that, hey, I can learn from their wisdom. Now I have the tools, I have the strategies to get through it, to get to where I'm going. Just like, oh, dude, again, living in a simulation.
Yeah. Well, I guess my final question for you is 2 things of advice you give to people moving forward after they listen to this podcast.
Well, as far as, working with sexual energy, it's really about gaining this deeper connection with your body and your mind and how these are connected, the body and the mind, right? A lot of people just we're floating up in this mental realm, disconnected from what's happening in our body. And like, we don't really get into our body and realize that things are out of balance till we have like an illness or something. That's how it is for most people. Right. At that point, sometimes it's too late. So, anything that I think one of the simplest places to start with is breath work, right? Learning to sit and feel your breath, learning to control your breath, breathe from your belly rather than your chest. That's going to lower, put you in parasympathetic, out of stress. And that's also kind of a foundation for controlling sexual energy. So, go to yoga.
What is the time? Sorry, I was going
to say go to a yoga class or qigong class as well.
What's the time limit? Like what? Because I even find myself sometimes turning my brain off. That like through meditation is like turning my brain off for 10 minutes is almost impossible. Like 2 minutes into it, I start thinking of all these things, which I think you're supposed to work through, right? But what's like the time limit on practicing your breath before you can kind of like let go and relax enough, or is it different for everybody?
I mean, it's going to vary especially living on planet Earth right now. There's so much in the field bombarding us 24/7. So, the fact that you have thoughts going through your head, it's going to happen. Just you're observing that happening, and just the important thing is you're doing the practice, you're working on it, you're actually doing the work.
Yeah, because only through the practice will you hit certain level. Meditation's like a game. So yeah, I mean, today I'm on day 73 of meditating, and it's like, man, I've experienced deeper levels of meditation than I am right now, which just tells me, dude, just chop wood, carry water.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. It's just doing it without expectation and knowing that, hey, if I'm consistent in my practice, at some level, I'm going to hit another level. And maybe right now, I've got things that I'm working through in my mind and in that physical body that that haven't let go yet.
Okay.
And so only through doing it consistently, like, man, this year, I mean, going back, like, that's probably the most powerful practice I've reinitiated in my life was meditation. Like, it has been a game changer.
Okay, so breath and meditation's number one. What's number two? Where's that second spot that everyone should?
Of course, I'm going to say qigong because that's a practice that I love, that it really opened me up to, because it's like, it's difficult to go straight from controlling your sexual energy directly. It's so volatile. It's so programmed. So with qigong, you work with just the regular energy of your body that's not aroused. And once you start to open up pathways through that, it becomes actually pretty easy to work with your sexual energy.
So is there a book that you would push everybody to?
What my favorite book on qigong is called The Way of Energy by Lam Kam Chuen, who's a Chinese guy.
I'm going to write this down right now.
Qigong, qigong. It's spelled different ways sometimes.
But people should really just go check out your course.
Yeah, I teach everything in the course. I have a 12-week intensive course for men. It's all the foundations to the higher advanced practices of the sexual mastery.
Right, and where can people get that?
Check my website, jonathanwhitelifestyle.com. You can find me on YouTube, Sexual Kung Fu, Instagram.
Yeah, we'll put that link.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, that's powerful, especially right now, like in this day and age. Like, again, going back to karma, like men especially, we've incarnated to have this challenge. The way is found through the challenge. So rather than being frustrated, just look at it like you're playing a video game. Like, this life is a video game, and these challenges you put there in place. The fun is found going through the challenge. So to find someone like yourself that has because that's another hard thing for a lot of people, is having a step-by-step process. Most people, they might think, hey, maybe I have a problem, or, I mean, let's say that they're addicted to porn and they have ED or something like that with their significant other. Like, it's embarrassing, it might be shameful, they want to make a change, but they don't know where to go to get the help. So that could be a big step too.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, it's such a powerful thing. It is energy. Like, we're all playing with energy, and that energy is, oh my gosh, it's so powerful if we can learn to harness it and use it in a different way other than just trying to bust a nut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Turn boys into men.
Right, exactly. And there's a mental switch.
Oh yeah.
Going from a boy to a man, like, rather than, hey, just listen, I got a nephew, I love him so much, kid's 18 years old, spends every nickel he's got. And I say to him, dude, listen, when I was 18, I did the same thing.
Yeah, same.
You got to learn how to manage it. Same thing with your nut.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Well, you've got to learn.
It
how
seems
to
like an
manage
endless
it.
account at that level. It's like, oh, I just
yes.
And then you're 30, you can't get it up anymore. It's like, oh shit. You know,
yeah.
That's the wake up call.
Dude, I was jerking off 5 times until I'd get a headache. Like, oh my god.
Dude, Steve Harvey said something the other day, and he said, or at least I've watched this video. It said, I spent my whole 30s trying to fix what I did wrong in my 20s. And then I finally started living my life in my 40s. That's so true for me even, right? Like, I'm right now trying to fix everything I did wrong in my 20s and my teens with the right guidance. Or, gosh, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's just so many lost souls out there, right? And then you don't... sometimes it's never too late to find yourself, though, right? Like, Morgan Freeman, he didn't play in his first movie until he was like 60. And now he's super rich, right? And he's a great guy. I love listening to him speak. I actually got this tattoo on my arm here. It's the moon phases, because he said, whether you're a Christian or not, which I believe he is a Christian. He said, if you don't think that the moon affects your body, when your body is like 70 or 80% water and it affects the tides, then you're crazy. And I went, God, this guy's speaking facts, right? Like, my body is a lot of water. Why wouldn't it affect my body? And so, yeah, I mean, just eye-opening stuff that you learn throughout your life that kind of unplug you a little bit here and a little bit there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, man. Just trying to reprogram those habits that we learn in this weird-ass world that we live in.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, man, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
It was a great
Enjoyed
time.
it, man.
Nice. Nice.